There's a lot that I can forgive, but there needs to be conversations and then in order for reconciliation, and part of that has to be accountability.
I would necessarily have. It is a moment where you need to have that discussion. The monarchy provides with the Constitution.
It happened during a quiet moment at Balmoral, the kind that usually stays behind palace walls. But this time, Princess Anne stepped forward with a revelation that would shake the royal family and the public to its core. She didn't do it through a press release or a royal engagement. It was subtle, deliberate, and filled with meaning. The king's final wish. No one expected it, especially not Princes William and Harry. In fact, sources close to the palace say both brothers were left speechless when they heard it. Not because it was shocking in content, but because of who it came from and what it could change forever. It's the kind of royal twist that turns headlines into history. The kind of moment where family meets duty, legacy meets personal pain, and the future of the monarchy hangs in the balance. We're diving deep into exactly what Princess Anne said, why it caught everyone off guard, and what it means for the most famous family in the world. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear could redefine the next chapter of the royal story. To understand the weight of Princess Anne's revelation, we need to look at where the royal family stands today, fractured, yet still bound by tradition. King Charles III, now in his mid-70s, has been battling ongoing health issues. Though Buckingham Palace has kept much under wraps, multiple royal correspondents have reported he's been quietly preparing for the inevitable, the transfer of power, the legacy he'll leave, and the family he'll leave it to. Princess Anne, his only sister, has long been regarded as the monarchy's hardest working royal. Known for her no-nonsense attitude and firm loyalty to the crown, she has rarely involved herself in family drama. Unlike others, she values privacy over headlines. That's what makes her recent statement all the more powerful. When Anne speaks, the family and the world listens. Meanwhile, the once close bond between Prince William and Prince Harry has eroded under years of tension. Harry's decision to step back from royal duties and move to the US with Meghan Markle left deep scars. His public criticisms of the royal family, including in his memoir, Spare, only deepened the divide. William, now heir to the throne, has stepped up his royal responsibilities. But behind the public poise lies the reality of a family still processing pain, distance, and unresolved conflict. Now, against that backdrop, comes a revelation, the king's final wish, delivered not by Charles himself, but by Anne. And it may be the one thing that forces these two brothers to confront their roles, their relationship, and their future. It was a moment of clarity amidst uncertainty, and it came straight from Princess Anne. During a recent private family gathering at Balmoral Castle, a place deeply tied to royal tradition and emotion, Anne reportedly shared the king's final personal wish. According to palace insiders, Charles had entrusted her, not his sons, not his aides, with the words he wanted carried forward when his time comes. Anne didn't dramatize it. She simply said, "The king wishes for his sons to reconcile. No titles, no duties, just as brothers." That was it. But those few words carried decades of weight. The room reportedly fell silent. Prince William, stoic and always composed, looked visibly shaken. Prince Harry, back in the UK for a short visit, had not expected to hear his father's final sentiment voiced by his aunt. Both men were stunned, not just by the message, but by the messenger. It wasn't about royal protocol or succession. It wasn't about duties or public perception. It was about healing. Anne went on to explain that Charles had shared his wish during one of their recent private conversations. He knew his health was declining, and he knew that if the family was going to survive the next era, emotionally and symbolically, it would need unity, not just for the sake of the monarchy, but for the sake of his sons. The king, a man who has spent much of his life misunderstood, wanted one thing above all in his final chapter: peace between William and Harry. The simplicity of it shocked them. After years of fallout, interviews, accusations, and silence, the message wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about repairing the one relationship that mattered most to their father. And Princess Anne, she was the perfect person to deliver it. Grounded, trusted, and above all, loyal to her brother. That wish is now out in the open, and it's left everyone, including the public, asking, will they honor it? The reactions from Princes William and Harry said more than any official statement ever could. Witnesses at Balmoral described the brothers' faces as frozen. William reportedly looked away, staring out the window in silence. Harry, on the other hand, dropped his gaze to the floor. There were no angry words, just a thick, heavy pause that no one dared to break. For years, their relationship has been defined by tension and avoidance. Every royal event since Harry's departure has felt like a balancing act. But now, with their father's health in decline and his final wish made clear, the old wounds resurfaced, raw and unhealed. William, ever the future king, is bound by duty and image. He's been careful not to comment publicly on Harry's criticisms, but insiders say the hurt runs deep. The timing of Princess Anne's message reportedly caught him off guard, and he left the room shortly after. Harry's response was quieter, but equally emotional. A source close to him shared that he had not expected to hear anything about reconciliation, much less from Anne. But the message, coming from someone he still respects deeply, hit hard. Neither brother responded immediately, and that silence speaks volumes. The public might want a hug and a photo, but behind palace doors, emotions are far more complicated. Years of resentment can't be undone with a single wish, not even from their father. Still, those in the know say this was the first time in years that both men seemed to pause, not in anger, but in reflection. And maybe that, in itself, is a start. The king's final wish isn't just a personal plea. It could reshape the royal landscape. For Prince William, the next in line, this moment forces a reckoning. His path has always been clear: prepare for the throne, lead with dignity, and uphold the institution. But behind the scenes, he's also a brother. And now, his father is asking him, in his final days, to put family before pride. If William chooses to respond, it won't just be about a private meeting or a public handshake. It will signal a shift in tone, one that could begin mending public perception of a monarchy often criticized for being cold and disconnected. For Prince Harry, the challenge is just as deep. He's built a life outside the monarchy, in California, with Meghan and their children. He's spoken openly about trauma, racism, and toxic family dynamics. A return to closeness would require not just forgiveness, but trust, something that's been in short supply. But here's the twist. The king's wish doesn't demand a return to royal life. It simply asks for peace. That gives both brothers room to meet on neutral ground. And beyond William and Harry, this moment sends a message to the world. Even in the House of Windsor, where tradition rules and image matters, family still comes first. Or at least, that's what King Charles hopes. If honored, this wish could mark the beginning of a quieter, more personal reconciliation. One that plays out not on camera, but in quiet phone calls, private visits, and moments far from the spotlight. And if ignored, it risks becoming the final tragedy in a royal story already filled with too many. Royal experts and historians are calling Princess Anne's reveal one of the most emotional turning points in recent royal memory. According to royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, the fact that Charles chose Anne, not an aide, not an advisor, to deliver this message speaks volumes. It was a deeply personal choice. Anne has always been a bridge between the formality of the monarchy and the honesty of the family. Royal historian Dr. Anna Whitelock adds, "There's precedent for monarchs making last wishes known, but rarely do they focus so clearly on emotional healing. This is about legacy, yes, but not titles or power. This is about restoring humanity to the crown." Public reaction has been swift and divided. Some see this as a hopeful signal that William and Harry might finally reconcile. Others are more skeptical, pointing out that years of division can't be undone by a single conversation, even one tied to a dying father's request. But one thing most commentators agree on is Anne's role in all this. Her reputation for discretion and honesty gives weight to the king's message. Anne wouldn't say this unless she meant it, and unless Charles meant it, one source close to the palace shared. There's also speculation about timing. Why now? Many believe Charles's declining health pushed the conversation forward. There may not be much time left for the king to see his sons come together, even if it's just as family, not colleagues. Ultimately, this expert consensus centers on one word: legacy. Charles doesn't want his reign remembered only for scandals and division. He wants to be remembered as a father who tried to bring his sons back together, even if it's the last thing he ever does. So here we are, the king's final wish laid bare, not in a formal address, but through the voice of his most trusted sibling. Princess Anne didn't have to say much. Just a few words from a quiet gathering in Balmoral have now rippled across the royal family and the world. The wish? Simple. Peace between his sons. No throne talk, no royal duties, just reconciliation. For William and Harry, it's a mirror moment. They've walked different roads, fought private and public battles, and built lives that now seem miles apart. But this wish, from a father they both love, through a sister they both respect, may be the one thing powerful enough to break through the silence. It's not a guarantee of peace, not yet, but it's a beginning. A test of whether family ties can still matter in a house built on tradition. For King Charles, this may be his true legacy, not the crown, but the family behind it. We'll be watching, as the world always does, to see if his sons will listen.